Okay. So, where do you work?
I work for the General Services Administration.
Mm-hmm.
And I am in the finance division. So I oversee a lot of our payments that go out, particularly a lot of what we call PBS payments, so the public building services.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I work within that department, making sure that we pay all of our invoices and our leases and utilities and vendor contracts on time.
Okay. So, how long have you been there?
So I started with GSA um, at the end of fiscal year or end of calendar year 2024. Before that, I had worked for a couple of other government agencies. So um, very familiar with the government at this point, but newer to GSA. So kind of a new insight to everything that's going on there and it being
Okay.
such a large agency.
Mm-hmm. How many years have you been in the federal service for?
9.5.
No, okay, 9.5 total years. Wow. Where were you previous to this?
So I was with DOD originally, and then I was in the Department of Interior after that, and then now GSA.
Wow. Okay, so DOD, DOI, and GSA.
Yep.
So were you doing a similar type of job, doing like contracts and invoices and stuff like that?
So kind of, I started with when I was DOD, I did like financial reporting. So I oversaw all of the financial reporting for the Air Force, and then I did all of the budget execution for all of DoD wide.
Hmm.
Um, and then when I went to the Interior, I was in the oil and gas revenue side of the house. And when I was there, I kind of did like accounts receivable. So I received revenue from the oil and gas on public lands and offshore.
Okay, interesting. So do you have a background in like accounting or something like
Yep,
that?
my
Okay.
degree's in accounting.
Okay, awesome. So are you mm, I don't want to say like are you in DC at the like DC location, but I'm
I
curious.
am I am not in DC.
Okay.
I am smack dab middle of the country.
Okay. All right.
I am the DC of the West, so I'm out here in
Mm-hmm.
the middle. Yep.
Okay. All right. And what kind of things are you experiencing?
So as of last week, our division or department decided to start tracking any situational telework. So say there's things like a snowstorm or a massive car pile up on the five or whatever. Um, you no longer can work from home without up the chain approval, and it's being tracked. Um, Even though we're all supposed to be back in the office, there has been special treatment with the 1102 series, so those contract specialist jobs. So they're all still getting to work from home. And I think that's across the government. I know for GSA, it's for sure they all still get to situationally work from home. We are having things where, the buildings have major health concerns. So the Fort Worth building came out with mitigation plans for things like surface mold and air quality and Legionella. And I know the office that I've worked in has had, yeah, yes. Um,
That's
that is,
crazy. And they expect people to come and work there?
yeah, they
Legionella?
expect this.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. So, yeah, my building's had it too and stuff. And, you know, it's, we're also on Wi-Fi networks. So we don't even have like a hard code in to like an Ethernet. It's just Wi-Fi. So I could be on a call like this, like I am with you, and halfway through you'd be like, "Hello, hello, where did you go?" And I would be talking, but my
Wow.
server would go down, and that's like a known thing. And, there's, they expect things like us to come in and be happy to be there when we don't have assigned desks. So you're doing drop in service and stuff. And, parking, you're fighting to find parking. The I know a couple people that do transit into the NCR National Capital. They still are waiting on reimbursement for their parking permit or like their transit permits, which
Mm-hmm.
$250 a month when you're making like say GS9 salaries is
Yeah.
not a whole hell of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cutting out of your grocery budget or, whatever. Um, and you have to like lug all this stuff home with you every day. They're making it so that way like we don't want to go to work. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of still the goal.
Yeah. So since you started in beginning of 24, right?
End of 24. So I
End of
started
24. Okay,
right
so
after Thanksgiving. Yeah.
okay. So were you considered like a probationary employee when you started?
I was not. So thankfully because I was already I took a lateral transfer.
Mm-hmm.
So I already was in my job class at the grade that I was coming over. I was not considered probationary, which was thankful. I was heavily hit with employees under me for DRP. I went from a staff of, I think, 10 to four, five. Five. I had five.
Yeah.
Um, and that's, all of our upper chains
Mm-hmm.
took it and took Vera. So they still expect us to do the jobs. They came in and they slash and dashed the PBS portfolios teams and didn't think, oh, we still need these people to manage the buildings that we are renting or own.
Mm-hmm.
And those are people that I directly deal with. Um, and it ultimately meant that other people are taking on the jobs of four, five, six people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And with like coming into work every day, you have to be there in person 5 days a week?
we still have the alternate work schedule
Okay.
flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
thankfully. I stayed with the standard 8, kind of thing. With a commute, I was like, okay, if I leave at X time, it's a blank commute. If I leave an hour later, holy shit, it like quadruples in time. No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But so we do still have some people on like the 549 schedule and stuff. So that's still there, but the core hours of 9 to 2:30 are
Mm-hmm.
becoming much more strict.
Mm-hmm.
There's much more of that. Well, where were you? You can't take a doctor's appointment unless you're just going to end your day early if it's
Mm-hmm.
during core hours.
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of the message that we in my department are getting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's kind of crappy because we've always had that flexibility of, oh, okay, I'll just take a extended lunch and go, you know, get my eye doctor appointment done for the annual or whatever. And now that's reined in a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then you still have to commute most of the time, and you said that there's drop-in desks, so you don't have an assigned seat.
Yeah.
So you just have to bring your stuff there, find a spot, and then bring everything back.
Yep. I call it my pack mule self. So a great example is I took a nice little stumble this morning coming into the office and I was like I had a coffee in one hand, my gigantic baby-sized water bottle in the other, my lunch bag, my backpack, my purse.
Yeah.
And and that's the same things that you end up walking out with. And then you have to do it all over again the next day.
Oh my gosh. They don't have lockers for you or anything?
So we have some drawers that you can request,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also somebody who's like, well, I don't want to leave all of my my stuff. Like, what if tomorrow there's a, you know, snowstorm or whatever? I know it's summer,
Yeah.
but I want to be able to work from home if I need to.
Mm-hmm.
And also, they're very limited in our office. We have very limited conference rooms. I think there's like 7 huddle rooms, and I think probably 8 or 9 conference spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're all on meetings. So, in our office, the way that it's set up, and GSA tends to be set up this way, is those kind of flexible workspaces. So they have like the much shorter cubicle walls.
Oh.
So, yeah, we have a lot of that. Like, they're not a cubicle. You don't have privacy. I can see the person across from me while they're on a call,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. Like, so also that's the other side is, yeah, you can maybe get a drop-in room, but if you, let's say you have a meeting closer to the afternoon, they're all taken.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're sitting there with your earbud in or your headset, putting yourself on mute every time the person next to you starts talking.
Yeah, that's frustrating. So, do you deal with sensitive data at all?
Not within my area. Some of the other teams do have CISP contracts. So depending, so like I sit near a bunch of people that are acquisition services
Mm-hmm.
for DoD.
Mm-hmm.
They're all warrant contracts. They all have security clearances, whereas my area is not.
Mm-hmm. But they sit in the same space from you, so you could
Yep.
potentially overhear their conversations.
Hmm. Yes.
And you're just supposed to pretend that you don't hear it.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
Or they're supposed to go find other spaces in the office, but it's like when they're extremely limited,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them are either drop in or reserved. And sometimes it's, how are we supposed to reserve this if
Yeah.
it's, you know,
Yeah.
and who wants a conference room for that fits 15 people for one person?
Right. Yeah.
Waste of space.
Yeah. So you said that a lot of the buildings have health hazards, Legionella and mold and crazy stuff. What is being done about that?
So the email from today for the Fort Worth office was pretty much just stating um, that they've mitigated the mold on the 3rd floor. They're doing routine air testing, and then the Legionella is only in 3 of the like X number of drinking fountains, so those ones are being
Oh
replaced.
yeah, don't worry about that. Okay.
Don't worry. When it was in our building, I remember they sent out emails and they were like, please just make sure to use hand sanitizer when you go to the bathroom.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I don't even want to go to the bathroom. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
any of that water near me. Like,
Yeah. Oh my God. Legionella is like one of those diseases that I'm really afraid of.
yes. Like, I already have like fears of like sickness. I don't need it being in my drinking water.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. And
Yeah.
so like you could legitimately get really sick from
Hmm.
being in the building.
Yeah. And most of these buildings are extremely old.
Yeah.
Like so where I work is like a big installation, and most of the buildings have been around since, the 40s, 50s into the early 60s. It was a nuclear depot for, you know, Cold War ammunitions.
Yeah.
So really old buildings that have not been well maintained, in the sense of we we do what's routine maintenance, O&M maintenance, but
Hmm.
we don't do anything to make it flashy.
Yeah.
And with that comes, you have things like lead paint that they're still mitigating. You have
Mm-hmm.
things like asbestos in areas. Yes, they've done a pretty good job mitigating a lot of these things over the years, but they're still older buildings.
Yeah.
We're not, DC, most of those buildings are extremely old as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like they weren't prepared on having everybody come back,
No.
like
It
at all.
it was a very much jump decision. So GSA originally, like the original plan was kind of phased reentry. And they did a phase, but it was supposed to be like early March, early May, late June, September. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. You're doing waved reentries. All of a sudden, it was 1 week notice. You're coming back at the end of March. You're coming back the first week of May.
Mm-hmm.
And so, not only was it people scrambling to find childcare,
Yeah.
scrambling to work with their spouse's schedule or their partner or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they now have to be back in next week, kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
But then there's also these others that got special treatment with things like, well, your job classification isn't in. And then there's the people that lived with outside of 50 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of it being, okay, we're going to help you, it's you're on your own, kid. Good
Mm-hmm.
luck. You have 60 days to tell us where you plan to be,
Mm-hmm.
or there's the door kind of behavior is how I've heard it being interpreted. There was never this like, okay, well, we're going to work with you. There's an office for USDA in the small town that you live in.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to work around and get a desk for you there. It's here are the options. You tell us where you want to move to and you figure it out.
So what did people do?
So a couple I know moved. A lot of people, that was around the second DRP wave that we had.
Mm-hmm.
They took it. They were like, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
I can't move to one of the hub and spoke offices, and you guys haven't given me any other option.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that a lot of people did take the second wave of that deferred resignation.
Yeah. That makes sense. So, what you're talking about with the building issues that I've heard from other GSA people in different areas that they've dealt with COVID
Mm-hmm.
outbreaks and like
The
office.
guy The guy
Yeah.
who sits next to me got COVID the first week back. I
Mm-hmm.
just got over being sick. That, it wasn't COVID, thankfully, but, you can probably still hear a little bit of my coughing. Yeah, we're back in the office. People are going to get sick more. People are going to burn through leave
Mm-hmm.
more. You get rid of these flexibilities, and now you have less people working, one, because we had massive hits to personnel.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're not going to let them work from home. You're not going to let them flexible be flexible in their schedules. So, okay, well, I have a doctor's appointment. I'm not coming to work then. I'm taking the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're also down another person.
Yeah. And then if you're like, let's say if you have COVID, you're getting over it, you want to stay home so you don't get other people sick because you're still
Burn
testing
through your leave.
positive. Like you could still work, but you can't be there in person.
Yep,
So then
exactly.
you just have to take the whole day off.
Hmm.
It's such a waste. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it is a massive waste. Like, I mean, yeah, probably I could have worked on, I took Monday and Tuesday off. I probably could have worked Tuesday. Was
Hmm.
feeling better. But I was like, you're not gonna let me work from home. Okay, so sick leave, burn a day of sick leave that I could have been extremely productive otherwise.
Yeah. So, okay, these 1102 people who are allowed to work from home, they're
Hmm.
contractors for the GSA.
So their position is called a contract officer or contract specialist,
Okay.
depending on the agency, but it's that contract. I think it's contract specialist is like the 1102 series title.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
They, be it a union agreement or some classification within their job, that 1102 series, they are still allowed to work from home until October 3rd.
Hmm. And then what?
Then they're back in the office.
Okay.
But the thing was, is it was supposed to be June, then it was July, then it was end of September, and it just keeps kind of getting pushed little by little. Now we have an official date. It's not just
Yeah.
some month, it's a day. So I'm like, maybe. But they're all over the country. There's some of those people that are being scrambled to find an office for them
Mm-hmm.
and stuff because they could always work from wherever.
Mm-hmm.
They handle all of our contracts
Mm-hmm.
and our acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be back on the 3rd of October.
Hmm. Maybe, hopefully, if they stick to
Yeah,
it.
we'll see. Yeah, I don't believe anything at this point.
Yeah. So you said that 50% of the workforce has gotten cut and that people are doing multiple people's jobs.
Hmm.
Are you still able to get the work done that you need to get done?
There's a lot of things that we can't get done. So, um, we're getting better. We're starting to hit a point where people are helping each other out. Like, yeah, I'll jump in.
Hmm.
But for months there, it was, you know, chasing your tail around, praying and missing deadlines and bills not getting paid because, well, we don't have a contact to ensure that the payment should be authorized,
Hmm.
kind of thing. So that's been huge. We've missed, I know, like our debt collection team took a massive hit, and there was something that my team and their team was working on, and it didn't get done. And it led to the fact that, okay, well, we didn't get to apply those payments for collection to open bills
Hmm.
in the month, meaning we, aren't being good stewards of the taxpayer dollars.
Hmm.
These are paying our bills. Um, the other side of the house that, I know my department deals with is paying utility bills and stuff. And if we don't, with these people being back in the office, well, our utility bills are going up.
Hmm.
That is going to be a huge expense. And with that, part of the role is to ensure that we aren't overpaying for utilities.
Yeah.
We're not overpaying for, cell phone bills. We're not overpaying for any of the common goods and services. But if we don't have somebody on the ground, so I mentioned PBS got cut in a lot, and especially like the Pacific Northwest region got just completely obliterated. And so let's say my somebody within my area needs to reach out for a building in Seattle. Well,
Hmm.
there's nobody there anymore to tell us, hey, yeah, that bill should be paid or shouldn't be paid.
Hmm.
We don't have, or, oh, we don't have that building anymore. So we don't need to, we need to cancel that utility contract and send it back to Prologis or whoever the property manager is.
Hmm.
There's nobody there. So everyone's scrambling to just figure that out.
Hmm. And with these invoices, usually when you get an invoice, one person looks at it and then it goes to the next person for approval before the money actually gets sent out. With the lack of employees, are you having difficulty paying invoices too?
Not so much. So most of ours are like a direct pay. So the
Okay.
fact where the area that I work in, at least, is all direct pay. So it's things like rents, it's things like utilities, which have a little bit of that, but we
Hmm.
do it on the back end. are things like your cell phone bills, are things like fleet
Hmm.
expenses, any kind of construction costs. So buildings that are, you know, um, being renovated and stuff, we pay all of those. So we don't do as much of the like invoice goes through one approval, then another, then another. It's kind of like the front line gets it. If it's over a certain threshold, then it goes to management for approval.
Okay, I see.
Um, but everything is usually a direct payment. So, like, especially like rent, that doesn't usually go through anyone. It's just an automated, it gets pulled because it's a fixed amount every month.
Hmm.
So, that's a little bit, but we are having the other side where it's, you know, there's nobody to do the aftermath. So, like for utilities specifically, if there's an overage, it would go to somebody in the region or the field office to verify of like, hey, yeah, we had a leak, or you know, a phone bill. Oh yeah, we cut off all of these because those people were gone, so they don't need their work phones anymore, so we don't have those accounts.
Hmm.
um, we don't have those people anymore. So the
Hmm.
back end approval is not happening.
Yeah. And then for the vendor contracts that you deal with, can you tell me what that's like?
So a lot of like the vendors are, I mean, we have everywhere from large corporations, you've got your Prologis on the rental side, you've got your PG&E for utilities, we've got all over the board there. But then you can always get down to a mom and pop. We
Hmm.
have some of the largest contracts with SBA, so the Small Business Administration.
Hmm.
We work heavily with them to ensure that we are doing business with small businesses.
Hmm.
So a lot of times what happens is, maybe if, let's say for rent, it's a trust. Mom and pop owned this strip mall in Minot, North Dakota, and the trust doesn't have their sam.gov registration expired,
Hmm.
and we can't make that payment to them because their sam.gov expired.
Hmm.
Well, what ends up happening is we can't disperse that payment. So then mom and pop up in Minot, North Dakota aren't getting their money for a couple of months. They'll get it in arrears, but it's in a held status. So then they maybe can't put that back into the community. Because they can't pay their bills.
Hmm.
So it's not just the big corporations here. It's everything in between,
Hmm. Yeah.
you
So,
know.
yeah, tell me about what other difficulties you're experiencing at work.
Um it's just been kind of a lot of communication. Like, we definitely feel like the new administration came in, and especially with like the Musk stuff of, you know, Doge, things were happening at such a high level and no information was coming out. And there was a lot of the whole, look over here at this sparkly thing that's happening with AI bot and blah, 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 while we decimate this department over here. So that smoke and mirrors was definitely a thing. And now we're on our third administrator. So we're looking at what's to come. What is the plan from this person? And everything's just kind of pushed out. There's a lot of, we're going to do a reorg. There's going to be all these restructurings coming. Well, what does that mean? How are you going to do this? Is it budget and finance are going to be together? Is it going to be PBS is actually going to be merged in? Is contracting being brought in? And then there's a lot of things with the executive orders where, we can't do checks anymore. Um, so that's fine, but we have some of those mom and pop small businesses where they're going to send us a check and we're going to accept it. But people so high up are saying, we're not going to accept checks anymore. We're not going to send out checks anymore. And it puts these projects as well. We have less people. You're throwing in these projects that we have to research. We have to do all these new things. We have to make changes, and we have to work with vendors who are extremely fixed in their own ways as well.
Yeah.
Um,
So like, do you use pay.gov?
yes.
Yeah.
So we use pay.gov for a lot of our incoming payments. We use a lot of lock boxes. We have dwindled those down. We went from, I think, like 9 to 4, but we still are going to get checks. There's still going to be those times where we have to send checks. We have overseas buildings. We have buildings in Canada and stuff that are like on the border where half of the utility is a Canadian utility supplier. And so we still have to pay them. And they want it in a check because they want it in Canadian dollars. They don't want US dollars and stuff. So there's certain things that are going to you just can't go away. And I think that there's a blanket statement that makes it extremely hard because you can't just magically make changes. And then GSA was told, you're going to take on all of the contracting for common goods and services. Let's define common goods and services. Oh, nobody will? Okay. And then other agencies, so like GSA is supposed to be taking on all of the utilities and they're supposed to be taking on all of these other types of things, but nobody wants to give those up. Nobody wants really truly to give over their own personal freedoms and control of their own spending. And they're like, well, I don't know how much money I have for that in a year. It's not a budget item, it's just part of operations and maintenance. So I don't know how much I'm going to have to give you. And that's also hard.
Yeah. Um, so with AI, do you worry that, you know, Elon Musk and his AI stuff could come in and take over the vendor contracts and the payments and stuff like that?
I think that there's a lot of people that think that that's a thing that
Hmm.
it could do. Um, there is so much of a person side of our jobs still. Yes, I think an AI could come in and process the payment. I think that it could look at an invoice and say, yes, we're going to pay it. But what about if we don't have the invoice? What if all of a sudden it's like, hey, PG&E or, Dallas Natural Gas, why did we not get our bill today? Like you still need a person to deal with the vendor. I think that yes, we have a lot of technology that can do the other side, the button pusher side, the things that are automation. Um, I don't think that it'll ever fully get rid of 100% of our jobs.
Yeah. So you're not worried about AI taking over your job just yet.
Not yet. So before this job, I was in kind of IT development and stuff with my last agency after I was in accounts receivable. And I really just was like, there's a lot of things the computer can do for us, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of things that it can't analyze.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be great for big data. Like, I love the ideas of some of the automations that our automation team is coming up with, and like our staff is coming up with a lot of new and innovative ideas of how to make their jobs easier.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, the computer can only do so much analytics. It can
Yeah.
only look at numbers and be like, these numbers match or don't match.
Mm-hmm.
It can't tell the backstory.
Yeah. Um, there's always a human element that's needed. Like even when you call the bank, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you still you want to talk to a person because it's faster and easier just to get the
Yep.
problem solved. Like the AI can definitely do a lot of stuff like you said, but you really need to have a human element to it. Even with invoices and stuff and my own personal experience at my last former employer, if we couldn't get a hold of somebody who is listed there, I have had to use Google to just
Mm-hmm.
search their name, search their uh like where they were working and try to find a different contact number for them.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. I mean, we've all like there's a human element. And I tried to tell this to my staff and stuff of like even throughout DRP and riff fears and all of those things, I'm like, you're valued solely because you bring a human component. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
they maybe want to get rid of all of our jobs and replace us with robots. I don't know. But the jobs that you're doing where you're going and talking to a person, computer can't do that for you.
Yeah. Yeah, no way. So do you worry about getting riffed?
Not anymore. So we had a meeting yesterday and it pretty much kind of solidified that our area is safe for now, whatever that means.
Okay.
Um, Now do I trust it as far as I can throw it? No.
Mm-hmm.
But I think through all of this, like I was very scared, like early on and stuff, and I kind of just was like, I have to make myself as valuable as possible. I'm going to take that opportunity that gets presented to me. Hey, we need you to come up with this idea. Hey, can you step in and help here? Hey, can you... And I took that as I'm going to make myself as valuable as possible so that way maybe I'm protected in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, the bills all still need to get paid. And if you lose 50% of your staff, and like my division did lose over 51%, I think was our final number.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, we don't have anyone left to cut. You can't, there, at some point, we're all just gonna be gone.
Mm-hmm.
My only fear now is they did say we didn't lose enough people at my level. We lost above and below me. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? Does that mean you could push me down into a lower grade level, or I could potentially be moved up for no extra pay doing the jobs of three people? Are you going to what is the restructure going to look like?
Yeah.
And nobody really will answer that question because I don't think anyone actually knows the answer.
Yeah. So are you looking for jobs outside of GSA right now?
I am not. Um, I had come like before getting this job, it had taken me a really long time. I had been applying. I knew that the project I was working on was not going to be long lived, and so I was like, I wanted to get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I'd been applying for almost 18 months and interviewing, making it to second and third round interviews, being yeah, you were the runner up, you were the second choice, you did really well. And then I got this job and I had applied internal and external to the government. It wasn't just government. And I was like, I got a job I love and I got an amazing team and I didn't want to leave. And then all of this happened a month and a half, 2 months into the new agency. And I definitely was like, shell shocked. I think we
Mm-hmm.
all were.
Yeah.
Um, and I definitely thought there for a minute early during the rifts and stuff of like, maybe I should start applying and now I'm like, I want to stick this out. I want to make the change that I think we still can. I think that if the teams and the employees and everyone pushes back and says, "No, we can't do this without people. Your expectations are asinine." I think we can make the change. I think that it just we need to get there. Um and so no, I'm not looking.
Mm-hmm.
Now if things changed, of course I would
Yeah.
be ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, have you guys been affected by DEI cuts?
Not specifically. I know that like all of our programs though are gone. Like there is no special emphasis anything.
Mm-hmm.
So the most we maybe have is like the retirement organizations come around and bring ice cream for morale boosts, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember like when I first started in the government, and she is still one of my best friends in the entire world. I was with DOD, and this woman took me under her wing for LGBTQA, um, to be a part of it. And I was like, wow, yeah, sure. What do we do? And she's like, we do monthly bingo, and we have a big potluck in the summer. And I was like, cool. Do people actually show up? And she was like, yeah, pretty much the entire organization comes. And I was like, whoa. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a huge ordeal. It was fun. I remember, the different clubs and stuff that work, just people being able to get together and agree
Mm-hmm.
on or have commonality and celebrate that and share those cultures and changes with their coworkers. And that doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm. So, like the LGBTQ group
Hmm.
gone.
I'm guessing, yeah, I would, at least at GSA, it doesn't exist. I'm pretty sure at DOD, it's dead in the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other clubs like a cookbook club or like a young professionals group or anything like that?
Not that I know of at GSA. I think somebody created a kickball club because
Mm-hmm.
on our installation, there are some kickball and softball fields.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's about it. Like, there's some of the professional development groups. So, like, AGA still has a pretty big presence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, there's no, like, you're lucky if there's a potluck, barbecue, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's pretty bare bones on the extracurricular.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And God, I had another question. Mm, okay. So let's keep talking about other cuts that you guys might have been experiencing. So are you experiencing any like issues with the ban on words?
So I like I wouldn't say anything like certain words that we can't use, but like we actually have had massive issues with things like they cut Adobe Pro.
Oh, I've heard this from other people too.
Yeah,
Tell me more about
so
it.
so pretty much everything you use like Adobe Pro for. So that was a huge one. Only like certain people were able to get licenses back. But your system access requests, they're always on a freaking PDF. Well, I can't edit the thing if I don't have Adobe Pro.
Yeah.
And like they're like, well, we're going towards DocuSign. And it's like, well, DocuSign only works as a finalized product. You have to have built out the DocuSign. You can't make edits to it. You can't revise versions like you can in Adobe.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, we already had limited licenses for Microsoft Office Suite.
Mm-hmm.
Finance got to keep theirs, but we're also learning that a lot of us didn't get the whole Office Suite. So, like, Access, half of my team doesn't have Microsoft Access. And I'm like, what? What do you mean?
So
um,
what are you guys doing with the like lack of licenses for essential products like Adobe and Office Suite?
so thankfully, I still have some people that have Microsoft Office Suite. Most of my team should have it. Like, so we have Excel, but so GSA is a Google product lover. So
Oh,
everything is
interesting.
Google.
That's contrary
Or,
to like everything else.
yeah. So we are Gmail. So that's the other side. So
Mm.
we don't have access to Zoom. So I wouldn't be able, like, on my work phone, I have a contractor meeting twice a week and they use Zoom. I can't take the thing from my phone because
Mm-hmm.
it's been locked out on my phone. um, that we can't do Teams meetings. You
Mm-hmm.
have to get like special access codes. So everyone who's DoD based, so all of the acquisitions teams who are DoD, they cannot like do that. Like they have to get special access codes for their computers. It's really annoying.
Yeah,
But yeah, so we're all Google. So we use Gmail, we use um, Google Groups, um,
the G Meets,
yeah,
Google Meets, and
Gmeets,
stuff.
Google Chat, and
Yeah.
all of those things. And as somebody who came from other government agencies, switching to Google was a massive change. And anyone who's gone to college in any kind of the business administration type degrees, you take an Excel course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you're probably about my age. How long have we been taking Excel classes since like middle school?
Yeah, forever.
I'm
Forever.
like, this is one of those. I'm like, I've never used Google Sheets. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
So I had to retrain how to like do a pivot table in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have Excel, but they don't talk nicely to each other.
Yeah.
And so if I do something in Excel and then I send it to somebody, they have to save it, and they don't have Excel. They have to save it down to Google Sheets and reformat it so that they
Mm.
can look at it.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you guys use Google. That's like contrary to so many other agencies.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It was so everybody used Teams and Microsoft and all that stuff. And at Aid, we had people who were detailed at Aid, um, and they all use Google. And it was really frustrating for us to meet
Mm-hmm.
because they're all like Google Meet, and we're like, well, can we just use Teams? And they're like, well, we can't use Teams. And we're like, well, somebody's got to compromise somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and my favorite was the first administrator we had was like, yeah, we're going to make it so that all of the government, because GSA being the acquisitions group, everyone in the government is going to switch to Google because we're going to have a government wide contract for Google. And I was like, good
Oh,
luck,
yeah, good
buddy.
luck. No. Like your old coworkers who've been there for like 25, 30 years, it's hard enough for them to even just use their email. Like,
Yes. Yes.
no, that's crazy. Um, so have you experienced any positives with the Trump administration coming in?
Um, I mean, I try to be a positive person. Um, it's really hard because there are so many things that have made life harder. Um, I do think that going into the office sometimes helps with our social abilities.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the working from home 100% created kind of a sense of, you don't know how to communicate with people in person anymore. You don't socialize outside of your little bubble. You don't I noticed that early on in the pandemic that you'd pick up the phone to talk to a client or industry, and it was harsh. It was really easy to be really blunt in an email
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't have to look at that person in the face the
Mm-hmm.
next day. So I think that going into the office is good. Do I think going into the office 5 days a week, enforcing that, and then, you know, stopping people from having flexibility and all of that is good? No, no, I think that that's terrible. I think that we should still have the flexibility to work from home. But if people wanted to go into the office, they could, you know, or 1 day a week have team meetings in person. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. But I'm the only person in finance where I'm at. They're
Mm-hmm.
all DC, Fort Worth, Kansas City, San Francisco, wherever. Like they're all over the place. So I'm in meetings virtually anyways
Mm-hmm.
now, but I've met other people that I otherwise wouldn't have because they sit near me.
Mm-hmm.
We go to lunch, whatever. I think that's the only positive. I think the rest has been added gray hairs to my head, you know, probably an ulcer, like I don't know, health issues that we didn't need.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone deserved to go through the stress that we went through.
Yeah.
I think that the taxpayers should know the expense. This never saved any money.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that has come about has cost the government more money. Us going back into the office is costing more money. The buildings that we are selling that we own, we are turning around and going to be re-renting, or they're going to sit there empty because nobody actually wants these old buildings that haven't been updated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's going to cost the taxpayers.
Mm-hmm.
you know I think the DRP was a great opportunity for a lot of people, but what's what's next when all those people that took DRP no longer have a paycheck at the end of next month?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What's the fiscal impact on our country as a result of that? It was
Mm-hmm.
a great option for people who maybe were afraid or had been eliminated because of probation or whatever. It was a great option for them. But what now? We're going to have a ton of people in the unemployment numbers are going to skyrocket.
Mm-hmm.
People aren't going to be able to afford things like their mortgage, their rent, groceries.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing that we can look back on the um, government shutdown of 2019
Mm-hmm.
that, we saw massive numbers of defaults on loans
Mm-hmm.
and credit debt skyrocketing because people weren't getting paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what
And
is
that's hard.
it is hard. It is. So what is one main message that you would like people to know?
Government employees are people. You know, I understand a lot of the public's frustration. They look at us and they see Well, my money goes to, pay your bills and whatever negative they want. But we're humans and we are providing a service that if we didn't exist, you wouldn't have things like roads. You wouldn't have things like safe food in the grocery stores. The Legionella that's in my buildings would probably be more places because you wouldn't have those testing facilities that go in and ensure that we're safe.
Hmm.
Um, but at the end of the day, we are all still humans too, and we're doing our jobs. We didn't take these jobs to make millions of dollars. We took them because we had a calling or we wanted to serve our neighbor. We wanted to do good for the people around us. Um, and when you take away positions or you know, encourage this kind of behavior, your neighbor gets hurt, be it funding programs for like kids' lunches or, food stamps or whatever, our jobs, we all hurt in the end. We all feel the implications. So we're just humans. We're just doing our jobs to the best of our abilities. And things will slip through the cracks when we don't exist.
Yeah. And you think that the taxpayer, people outside of the federal government, are really going to feel
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to use there was a, growing up, there was a car down the street that had a bumper sticker on the back of it of, if you don't like paying taxes, don't drive on my roads.
Mm,
And I like that because if you don't want to pay taxes, you don't want to be burdened by it, then don't reap the benefits that these your tax dollars do. If we didn't have taxpayers' money, we wouldn't have nice roads. We wouldn't have clean groceries and stuff. So if you cut these programs, look at Hurricane Aaron, if with the cuts to FEMA,
hmm
we could potentially be seeing the direct implications right now. We just saw them in Texas with notification systems. It's slow, but we will see it, and everyone will be impacted. Maybe not in the biggest way, but it could be extremely small. Your parents maybe won't have Medicare. Your teachers, no longer are getting paid. So your kid's classroom is no longer a class of 20, it's a class of 45 because they don't have the funding to have enough teachers.
hmm
And then your kids suffer. Um, it it's a domino effect and everyone will be impacted, be
Yeah.
it the smallest granular level to the I no longer can live level.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time in talking to
Yeah,
me. Is there anything that you feel like we missed that you would
no,
like to say?
no, you did a really good job, and thank you for taking the time to do this with everyone because we should be heard.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope things change. I hope you still keep your job. I hope things get better for you somehow.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.